So this is the recipe that I've always, actually not always used. I used a different one because I didn't understand this recipe that my mother-in-law had. And so I finally figured it out and I use it all the time now. So we'll just start. I always, like I did with my bread, I sift the flour. So there is, what?
I never sift. I just fluff.
Yeah, I do that occasionally, but usually I do this. So I usually, Angela, would you mind bragging the eggs in the milk?
Oh, yes.
I forgot those. So it calls for about 8 cups of flour, and I do 5 at first, and then it takes 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Angela measured this out for me, so we'll go with it. And then it is 2 teaspoons of salt. And so I usually start with this. In fact, I did this morning with the other ones I made. So you can see I give or take some, occasionally a little more salt, a little less salt, how I feel for the day. Heaping salt sometimes, no. And then, so then I just sift all of those dry ingredients together. I put in, it says 4 or 5 eggs. I usually do 5. When I'm on egg rations, I do 4. So today I did 4, with the ones I made earlier. But Angela has 5, so we'll use 5 and we can see what the difference is, I guess. So I put the eggs in here first. So I put in the 5 eggs, and then it combines with just a 1/2 cup of water. And then I mix those together. And a 1/2 cup of water. And then I just usually mix that up so that egg yolks are kind of not whole. 2 cups of milk, and you scald it. And I'm not an expert on scalding milk. I just do it until it burns, until it hurts, right? So you scald your milk, and then you add your shortening to it to melt it. But this is how I usually do it. I just put it in like this, and then I'll put it in there and stir it up. And then I add it to this mixture, and then we'll add the dry ingredients in and stir them up. So I did raise it a couple times, but tonight we're just gonna roll with it and not let it get raised again.
Kelly did mention this recipe freezes very well.
Yes. Oh. So I stuck some in the freezer for hunting season. I just put like 2 in a Ziploc bag to pull out.
Nice.
And they taste good, and if they might be a little dry, but I like them dunked in hot chocolate, so.
Do you freeze them cooked or?
Cooked.
Okay.
I freezed them, yep, they were cooked.
And so you don't stir the milk when you scald it, is that right?
The milk?
Yeah, like you don't, are you not supposed to stir it?
I don't know, because I stir it, because I have to stir this into it.
Oh, okay.
So there's 2/3 of a cup of shortening. And I leave it on the heat just so it keeps melting, so it's not, I don't know, sometimes I think I've taken it off before if I thought I got it too hot, so I didn't burn the milk to the bottom or whatever. But usually so then I just stir this around so it gets mixed in. So I just do it as long as I can get most of the chunks out. And then I still just kind of stir them in with the eggs.
Do you cool it down at all before you put it in with the eggs?
I don't.
So it doesn't like scramble the eggs? Okay.
I don't. So I don't really cool it down, but I do enough just so it's not.
Okay.
Usually I guess I take it off the stove and then I'm adding something else or something. So it's
Okay.
not directly going in. But you can see, I don't know if you can see what that looks like. See if you can dump this in here. Okay. So I usually just do this in a saucepan, but for the sake of being at the library and using fun tools. So then I just mix this together a little bit, and then with the 5 cups of flour, I just dump it all in at once. and then I stir it. So I usually will stir it together with my, whatever this thing is called. Because I always thought I never would get it all the way to the bottom. And so this way I feel like I can get it mixed in and not have the bottom just be all floury, you know what I mean? All the sides mixing in and whatever, I can see that I've gotten it all kind of mixed in, I guess. Then I will turn this on. So then I do add in the other 3 cups of flour. And on the recipe it says about 8 cups. And so I usually put in 8 cups, and depending on how it turns out. Like this morning I added a little bit more, just because I don't like it when it's sticky. When it just sticks to my hands, I can't do anything. It's too, it just sticks to everything, right? And so I like to get it when it's still, like, what is the word, elastic, but not so sticky that I can't work it. So then I just gradually add this in. And then it should rise until double. And then usually I'll just hit it down and make them, because I don't want it to take all day to try to let it raise, let it fall, let it whatever, and then roll it out, and then let it, because then after you put them in the pan, you're supposed to let it raise again. And a lot of times I don't do that either, because I'm like, I don't have time for this. Just cook.
So 2 tablespoons?
2 tablespoons of yeast, yes.
It really doesn't matter when you put it in.
So it probably does, but at this point we have no going back.
So when do you normally put it in?
When I mix the 5 cups of flour, the
So with
very
that-
beginning, with the yeast, the
It's
sugar,
all
and the salt.
mixed in together.
I-
But you don't
yes.
mix it in with the liquid, so you
No.
probably are fine.
And so this is active yeast, instant yeast, and so most of the time I like to let it rise at least 2 times, just because it does make it lighter and fluffier. I'm probably gonna add more flour because to me this is too sticky.
Oh,
I don't want
Okay.
it to be sticky.
Yeah.
So you can see, like, if I get it off my finger, it's just too sticky for me. So I just add, like, I'll just add a little bit at a time, just so I don't, because if you do add too much flour, it can get very heavy. And so I don't want it to get heavy. And also, with cinnamon rolls, I don't mind if it's a little on the sticky side, because I'm going to roll it in flour anyway, so you're going to add more flour into it. So I guess when I like it is when it pulls away from the side better. It's not just all cake to the side.
Okay.
I guess is how I tell more so, like, it's still wanting to stick to the side more than it is wanting to be together in a ball. And so I'm going to add some more of it. So you can see it still is pretty gooey, but I don't want to keep adding so much flour that it's just going to be like 10 pounds. So you grease the pan, and I usually, if I don't have I have just a little paintbrush that I wipe my pans with, but fingers do the same. So now it says you're just going to take half at a time, and so usually when you roll it out, it should be half of the thing will fill a cookie sheet, I guess. So with this, all I do is I just put flour straight on the table here, and I just roll it around, and you can see I like lots of flour when it's very sticky. So I would call that pretty close to more than half. I like to throw it around in the flour so it gets kind of incorporated into it, I guess. So the easiest for me is I just put it in a bowl so I can mix it all together. And I usually go heavy on the brown sugar here. So it's a half a cup of brown sugar, and then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So then it's all just one big thing. And the easiest thing for me when I am, well, I'll show you what I do first here. So you can see, I just make it so it's, I guess like making cinnamon and sugar for your kids to put on their toast. I roll this out into a rectangle, or this morning it turned into whatever shape it felt like going. And I just try to make sure I have enough flour out so it doesn't stick. And then I roll it out. And I don't, the thinner you go when you roll it up, I guess, I don't know, I don't really care how thick it is sometimes. I just go with whatever I feel like when I find it into a rectangle. If not, I keep rolling it and it goes into a weird shape. So, about that thick, I guess. And then I pour on my butter. And so like mine earlier today, I feel like they rolled out bigger than this. But I just sprinkle it on. And then I usually will just rub it down after, just so it's all kind of together. And I try to get it so it's out to the edge, because when you roll it up, you don't want to have an end that has no brown sugar or anything on it. And when I need more, this is what I did earlier too. It didn't quite get out to the ends, and so I will just take a little bit extra and put it out to the sides. Roll it up. And a lot of things I read or something that says don't get it too tight, because then it, I don't know what it's supposed to do. But I just roll it however tight I feel. Sometimes the ends are just loose and floppy. And then I use dental floss, because it's way easier than trying to cut it. And so I mean, however thick you want them, I usually go about like that. And then you just pinch them together and stick them on. I always try to pinch the ends back in so they don't fall out, I guess. But then also, most of the time, and you can go as thin as you want or as thick as you want. I try to keep them the same, but it doesn't happen. I try to put just 4 across, depending on how big they get. I mean, sometimes they get pretty large. I don't ever know what to do with the end ones, but sometimes it's nice when they're like...
Put the other way and then squish it in.
Mm-hmm. So I just stick them in here with all the little ones down here. But usually I try to put them intermixed, because there's be like some big ones and I can't fit all the big ones across, so I just stick them in here like this. But that...
Oh, well, hang on, I'm going to take a picture of you holding it up.
That's
amazing. That's a good picture for the newspaper. Hold it up, hold it up. That's perfect.
So then, usually you would let them raise again until doubled, or however long you want. Usually I'll let them raise a little bit and then I'm like, let's eat the things. I've been doing too much effort here. Let's just get rolling with it. And so I'll just stick them in. Like today I just had them, in fact, so it makes the 2 pounds. So while I have this one in, I just had it sitting on the counter in the sun.
Okay.
And by the time I got done with the other one, usually I'll put them in together. Today I was like, well, I'll just, and it says to cook them for 20 to 25 minutes. Today, 20 minutes was brown. Okay. Pretty good. So the second one I put in for 18 minutes, and it wasn't as brown. So I don't know if my oven was hot today because it was on for a long time. I don't know. But that's all it is, and I just used my buttercream frosting. So it is right here. I just do, well, I doubled it today so I could have extra, because we eat it with my raisin bread. But it's 2 2/3 cup of powdered sugar, And actually I do 3 because this is the chocolate buttercream frosting. So I do 3 cups of powdered sugar, 6 tablespoons of margarine, 4 to 5 tablespoons of milk, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And that yields about 2 cups. So it's enough for this. But, and then also the fun trick with these is donuts. You can make donuts with this recipe. And so all you do is instead of, I mean, you could honestly deep fry these little puppies right here too and have more goodness. But all I do is, before I roll it out and stuff, I'll just roll it out, and instead of putting the brown sugar and stuff on it, I'll just put a cup and then use a pop bottle top for the donut holes. And then I just deep fry them. The trick is getting the right temperature.
Yeah.
So it's, because I remember in college making them going, these look so delicious, and the neighbor took a bite and was like straight dough in the middle. My bad. Anyway, and so they're really easy, but same with those. I deep fry them, and then I take them out and set them on a cooling rack over a pan so all the oil drips off. And then I'll take them from there and just roll it in just icing, just powdered sugar and milk and vanilla, whatever you feel like concocting. And then I just roll it around in it and put it back on a cooling rack. So the first time we did it, it was a long process because it was like how hot to get the oil and how this and how that, and so a lot of times I will make like this. I'll probably take this home and make donuts out of it, so I don't have so much cinnamon rolls, but it's fine because I like them. So that's probably what I'll do with this, because you can see this is still the rest of. There is this much left.
Yeah.
So you still have quite a bit to work with.